In a previous video, I spoke about how tweens in Godot could be used for animation. For more complex animations, we want to use the animation player and the animation tree. In this video, we're going to speak about the animation player. Even simple keyframes can make a game look professional, and animation is basically the secret to making your game feel alive. So as usual, I'm going to start off with a 2D scene again and start a 2D node on node 2D, and let's just name this animation foundations. Descriptive enough for me, and let's save this. I'm just going to save it to default. I just want to add a sprite 2D, and in this sprite 2D I'm just going to drag across the icon, and let's just move this where we can see it in the center of the screen. Let's save this and run. And it's there. Nothing's going to happen as yet. We haven't done any animation. To start animation, we need to add something called the animation player. So let's click the animation foundations and add a start typing in animation. And you'll see animation player and animation tree. Animation tree is a little more complex. We can learn later on. We're going to click the animation player. This is what we're going to use. As you can see here, there's an animation player attached to the main node. If we click animation player and go to the bottom, it's already selected, but if it was not, let's say it was an output, you click the animation button panel and the screen will come up. You'll notice nothing here for now. That's because we have to manually add an animation. So let's just click, there's an animation button at the center here. Let's just click that and type in new, and that's going to give us a name option. Let's just name it anything we want. Let's just call it transform, because we're going to be transforming this sprite 2D. Now you'll notice something here. When we added the animation name here, if you look to the right and even to the top of the window, you'll see these little things, new buttons pop up. These are all concerned with animation, but this little key is our main button that we need to look out for. Once there's this key, you can animate that value or that property. At the top here, you'll see position, rotation selected. You can choose, you can restrict what you want to animate. So if I only want to do position, I just unclick the rotation. If I want to do all three, I can do it all at once by clicking all three and make my movements and save them. Let's get into it. So for my purposes today, I'm gonna unselect the position, rotation and scale, because I want to add tracks manually at the bottom here in the animation window. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to click add track, and we're going to add a property track. The property track are basically the properties of what we're going to animate. In our case, it's sprite 2D. So let's click property track, and it's going to open up a window, and it's going to ask you to pick which node you want to animate. We're going to animate the sprite 2D. Click OK, and we're going to tell it what we want to animate. You can type in at the top here, or we can just scroll down, and so you can see all the different things you can animate. I'm going to choose a position for now because I want to animate the position of the sprite 2D. So if you look in the animation screen here, there's a timeline, and at the bottom right hand side you'll see a number here. That's how long your animation is going to be. Right now it's just 1 second long. Let's just make this 2 seconds. Let's just type 2 and enter. You'll see the little bar increase from 1 to 2 here, and we can control and scroll to widen this screen a little. So this is our timeline here. It's widened a bit. Let's add our first position. As you can see, the blue line here, that's where our first frame is going to be, our first animation frame is going to be. We're just going to click the sprite 2D to get the properties in the inspector, and I want to open transform, and we're going to manipulate the position. Remember I said the keys are the important things here. We want to save the position as is for now, so let's just click, and when you click you'll see a little diamond shaped button, diamond shaped node appear on the timeline. Let's move the timeline to the end. Just click and drag, move it to the end at 2 seconds, and I want to move this sprite 2D to the bottom right hand side. You can move it to wherever you like. You can move it to the middle. In fact, you don't have to go to the end. You can actually go to the center of the timeline and or anywhere on the timeline and put the sprite wherever you want it to be. I'm just going to do from one end to the next, and we have to add this frame. So let's just go to the position in the node and click the key again. You notice the little diamond appear on the timeline again. So here now we can just save this. What this does is it takes the initial position and any other positions in between, including the last one. It does its own transition in between, as you can see if we move the timeline here. But if we play this now, nothing's going to happen. That's because we haven't started the animation in the code. Alternately, we can click this autoplay unload and it will load automatically, and now it's supposed to work when we start the game. So that's our first animation, that's the position. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let it auto load for now, and after we can add it on the script. Let's go back to the animation tab. So we come to the top here, top left hand side of the animation tab, and click add track again. Add another property track. Same procedure, and we're going to change the rotation. Open, and follow the same methods again. Let's click the sprite 2D so we can get the inspector to open. We're going to look at a rotation here, and every time we want to save a rotation, we click the keyframe. So let's leave it at the original rotation. Click the keyframe. And let's give it something else in between. Let's say we want to give it a full 360. We can type it in here and add it in. And let's go to the end, and let's say we want to give it a minus 360 and type that in. We're not seeing anything, but if we move the timeline, we'll actually see the movement. So let's play this. Remember, it's on auto load, auto play. Remember, we have this auto play on load, so that's why we see it when we press play. If you want, you can add scale as well. Same way. Add a property track. Sprite 2D. Add the scale or whatever other property you want to change. Open. Let's scale it down to 0.1, and I'm just going to move it up to the corner a bit. Yeah. And as it moves across the screen, let's save that scale. As it moves across the screen, I want it to enlarge to 2.0. This automatically changes to the Y value to same as the X on the scale. That's because we have this little link, this little lock button clicked here. You can click that and unlock it, so whatever you change here, it will not affect the other. But I'm going to keep it linked for now. Whatever you're doing, you choose what you want to do with your sprite 2D. And I'm just gonna save this scale here, and let's play this. And it works as we program the animation to play. I just want to drag this up a bit here. Let's click the position part of the timeline, make sure it's at the end, and let's just move this up and save the position. Let's just test this. Perfect. Not off screen. Okay, I just want to add a script to the main node, the animation foundations node, and we'll leave it with that name. Yes. Let's take off process. I don't need process for now. What I want to do is I want to show you that we can call these animations from the GD script. Let's just remove pass here. At the bottom here right now in the timeline, autoplay is on. But if we take off autoplay, because let's say for some reason we don't want the animation to start from the beginning of the, as soon as we start the scene, we want it to start with some other event, maybe pressing a button, or maybe an enemy hits a player, whatever your event is, you want the animation to play at that point in time. You wouldn't want it to be, you would not want the animation to start as soon as you start the scene. If we take off the autoplay here, we have to add it in the code. Let's do this. Let's just do the same thing, but within the code. For now, we can always move the code into another function. So we're going to drag across the animation player, because that's what contains the animations. Dot. It's really simple. Play. And you give it a name of the animation that you created. In this case, it's transform. Reset is a built-in animation to reset your, if you have a character, or you want to reset your sprite or whatever. If you want to reset it to some default position, for example, when something happens, or if the game is paused, or if the game restarts, anything like that, you set your reset there. You set your positions, rotation, scale, whatever properties you want in the reset. We just deal with transform for now, and that's it. So now we expect when we start the scene, the ready function says that it wants the animation player to start immediately. So let's save this and run, and it works the same way as before, but without the auto load button that we had before, the autoplay button that we had before. So now let's just say we want to connect an animation to a button or something. Let me just get right into that. Let's go across to the animation foundations in the 2D scene, and let's just add a button. And let's just widen this button a bit so we can see what we're doing. Let's just put it at the bottom left hand side, bottom left hand corner, so it doesn't get in the way of our movement. Let's animate inner fade. So let's just call this button fade. So what we're going to do is we can fade the sprite 2D whenever we like, using the button every time we click the button. So let's just save this. And this is where the other concepts that we did in the last video I made, signals. We're going to add a signal from the node tab for the button. So let's just click node tab here, make sure button is selected, and we're going to use the pressed, double click pressed, and we're going to put it in the only script that we have, which is in the animation foundation script, and connect. A function appears here. We're just going to put our code for the animation that we want to do. For this, let's just create a whole separate animation for the fade. I don't want it mixed with the transform. The transform has what we already put here, position, rotation, scale, but I don't want it to happen at the same time while the sprite is moving. I want it to happen when we use the button, so I want a separate animation that is not joined to the transform animation that we have here. So let's click animation, let's click new, and let's call it fade. Okay, so let's just add this track a different way rather than clicking track and adding the property track like we did before, which you can still do, but with modulate it's a little weird, so I'm just going to add it a different way. I'm going to click the sprite 2D, and there's a little key at the modulate. Now if we use visible, it's not going to work because visible is either on or off, and that's a boolean, and there's no in between, so it's not going to fade in. So you're not going to get that fade effect. It's just going to go straight from visible to invisible, and that's not what we want. We want it to fade in, so we're using modulate. Let's just click the little key button, and you'll see this dialog come up. You can unclick both of these for now and just click create, and you'll see at the bottom here in the animation screen in the timeline, well, I had it at the end of the timeline, which is 1 second in this case, the key was created. We can actually copy and paste these from the timeline itself, so just right click. Now if you notice something, when I click the key inside the timeline, at the top right hand side, the inspector changes now from the sprite to it changes into the properties of that key. In this case, the time of the key, the value of the key, and easing. We'll deal with easing later on in the video. For now, let me just right click the key in the timeline, copy, and let's go to the beginning, right click and paste. When I paste it pasted on the exactly where I right click, so we can just adjust the timing of this by clicking the key that we want to adjust properties of and change this to 0.0, and goes exactly where I want. And let's say we want one at the center, 0.5. Let me just paste another one inside here, and let's select it, change this to 0.5, the timing, and let's make this alpha 0. So it's going to fade out and then fade back in. And that's the effect I want right now. That's the effect I want. So we can see it's working. Control save. If we just go back to the 2D scene and scroll into the sprite 2D, there it is, and press play, you'll see it's fading in and out. Oh, let's do that again. Fading in and out. Okay, let's go back to the full screen now. And now we just want to add this, we just want to wire this up to the button. So let's go into the script, and where we have the on button pressed here, let's remove the pass, and the same thing again, drag across the animation player, dot play, and the name of the animation, fade, and that's it. Control save. So if you play this now, the animation that we did before, that starts with on ready, plays, and if you click fade, it fades in and out. There's something I want to point out here now. If we start the scene, and in between the movement, and somewhere before the movement is ended, and we click the fade, it interrupts the transform. Let me show you what I mean. Let's restart this. And I'm clicking fade now. It fades as the button tells it to do, but the first animation is interrupted. And that's because by default, an animation player can only play one animation at a time. So if you start the transform animation in this case, and then call the fade animation will take over, and the transform animation will get interrupted or stopped. There are several ways to fix this, but I'm going to show you the easiest way. The others are a little more complex using animation tree or animation blends, which is a deeper topic for animations. So this is just a foundation. What we can do is create a separate animation player for the fade. So we can leave this fade here because we're just not going to use it. And let's just click animation foundations in the scene and add another animation player. We can leave the name as is, or you can call it fade animation, whatever you like. I'm just going to leave it as animation player 2. We know what it is. And same thing, you click animation, add new animation, and let's just call it fade. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to click the sprite 2D and add the modulate. Same thing is going to come up. Let's copy. Let's put one in the middle, paste, and let's put one to the end, paste. Let's just change the properties of this. Make sure this is at 0. Put this at 0.5. Change the alpha to 0. Make sure this is at 1. And that's it. Let's save this. Control save. So now here, we're not going to use animation player. We're going to use animation player 2. Let's just add it 2 at the end. Make life easy. So fade has a totally different animation player from the transform animation player. So they can work well together. Save and run. So if you notice now, if you click fade, it's not going to stop the transform animation. Remember, I was going to talk about easing. Let's go back to the first animation player. Click animation, we select transform, and if you notice, if we click the key, we have easing here. You can manually change easing by dragging and clicking the curve, dragging and moving the curve as you need, and it's going to change the, let's look at it. It's going to change the rotation. Oh, I forgot. These are all connected in one animation, so we need to look at it together. This is going to change the speed of the rotation. Or we can right click the easing, and linear is the default. And we can change all these to different speeds, easing in and out, so it's slower, then fast, then slow. So let's try that. It's kind of hard to see the difference. Maybe you have a better eye than mine, but I just want to point out that you can, just like when we did the tweens and you type in a code at the end of the tween, you typed in transition, ease in, ease out, and those type of things. We have that here as well. But you right click the easing in the properties of the key, and there's something else I want to point out here. In the animation timeline at the end, you'll see a little button called animation looping. As this now, it's not selected, so it's just going to play once and stop. But if I select that, it's going to loop from the beginning to the end over and over like this. Or if I click it one more time, you see a different icon comes up, like 2 lines with arrows in between. If we use this looping, it's going to loop as if it's bouncing from the beginning to end, back to the beginning. So this is really great if you want to loop certain movements, maybe back and forth movements, maybe some movement of some character or some item in your game. It looks really good. I just wanted to show how cool it is. Simple animations can make sprite look so good. This is my wizard from my intro video for the YouTube channel, and if you notice, if you look closely to the intro, you'll see it looks as if the wind is blowing the hat and the cape of the wizard. Basically, I just had two different pictures, which I use as two different textures. This one, if you look on the right hand corner, you'll see it. And the second one. What I did is, these are SVG files that I just manipulated a little bit on Inkscape to move the hat a little bit, to move the hat up and down, and save two different files. And I use those to change the texture track. If you click add track and property track, you'll see you can choose the texture rect and choose texture, and that's what I did. And I just used one of the textures, a timeline one, then another one, a timeline, whatever timeline this is. If I scroll I might see it better. Yeah, that's between 0.25, somewhere around there, and then 0.5, then 0.75, and then 1. And let me just zoom in on the wizard. Now, there were other animations like tweens for moving him back and forth in the intro video, but I'm just showing you how the wind effect looks. So I'm just going to click play in the animation player. And that's simple, just two textures back and forth. It looks good. It looks like wind is affecting the wizard's robe and hat. It gives it a nice little effect. So that's how cool AnimationPlayer can be used to do simple little textures, simple little movements to get great effects. I just want to show this.